Brigadier General Glenn Talbot is back, and he brought a little surprise with him. We learn a little bit more about the entity known as Hive, and there's this whole thing about a vaccine. Didn't you guys learn anything from X3? It's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Season 3, Episode 12, The Inside Man. Alright, spoilers ahead, just so you've been warned. Alright, so we got a great episode here, a lot of information has been dropped, and we're going to start off with the entity known as Hive. And I love the opening sequence that they had, which just sort of Ward's final POV as just after Coulson crushes his chest as he's laying there staring up at the sky in Maveth, and then you see the entity known as Hive, the wormy creature swirl around him and then latch on, and those little flashes of memory as Hive is absorbing his intellect and memories and everything like that. Just a great way to sort of bring us right into this character. And we learned a few more things about him. One, the host he inhabits has to be dead. It cannot be an Inhuman. It can only possess regular humans. He uses the phrase, I can't feed on my own kind. And I'm not really sure if they're saying that the possession is a feeding type of sorts. It doesn't really seem to be that, but mainly really hits the point again. Has to be human, has to be dead, can't be an Inhuman. Also, that he likes Ward. That was one of the questions that I had last week, was why is he still in Ward's body? And as he says, it's resilient, it is strong. He likes him. He appreciates that Malik presented Ward to him. So that sort of explains why, like I said, he had stayed in the body. So I'm assuming the first couple of months was probably him in like a hibernation state, maybe recovering from the damage that was done when Fitz set Will on fire. And then he did that, and then once he woke up from that, that's when he was hungry, and then he has to go and heal the rest of the body, which he does by the end of the episode in a very grody, gross, slimy, honey-covered way. But also, Inhuman powers don't affect him. When Lucio comes in and tries to use his freezing powers, they don't work on Hive. And I'm not sure if it's so much. I think it's really more of like a direct effect from Inhumans doesn't affect him. Because if you look at something like Daisy, if she's using quick powers on him, that's actually affecting the air and such around. Or the floor, if she's shaking that, I think that's going to affect him. Link in the same way with the electricity, that's a physical action that is going on, whereas like Gorgon's powers is freezing, and it seems to be like a direct effect. So not entirely sure where those lines are going to be drawn, but I think it's probably going to line around something like that. Direct effects don't affect him, environmental effects probably will. And the control that he puts over the Inhumans that he possesses, grabs, doesn't seem to be like an entirely absolute. It's not like a full-on secondary possession. Now, of course, he seems to be releasing parts of himself that he sends off and is absorbed into the other Inhumans, I'm assuming. But there was a few comments by both the Inhumans with him when he was asking, "Oh, I need you to do this." Lucio's reaction of like, "Oh, they are all innocents," after they had gotten the 5 people around. They seem to be able to have some independent thought that still goes on there. Probably just a compulsion that they have to obey whatever Hive is saying. We'll probably hopefully get into that a little bit more, but like I said, that seems to be the direction that they were going on. And then of course, at the end, Hive, absorbs the bodies. Anyway, he's healthy at the end of it, kills 5 people to do that. Very gross, but this puts him back into a strong, healthy mode, and he no longer has the chest imprint of Coulson's hand in his chest. So now we're going to have a more dangerous Hive. He's healthy, he is ready, and there is, I don't know, he's got plans, and his plans I think might be a little bit more than what even Malik is thinking of. And then, like I said, we've got Talbot's return. Very obviously not happy to be working with Coulson from the beginning, and they've had kind of their issues in their relationship already. But we do find out that he's been subjected into working for Malik because Malik has his son. Which explains, again, that whole opening sequence we have with the fight between Talbot and his wife. Obviously discussing the fact that the son has been kidnapped and Talbot is going to fix this. He's going to fix this by setting Coulson up for Malik. Now, when they do find Talbot's son, he's in one of those cubes for the ATCU that they were using. The Rosalind Price was showing Coulson way back in the beginning of season 3. Those little cubes are like a suspended animation cube to store him. So he's not going to remember anything. Talbot's son's not going to remember anything about it. But I'm not sure if they're just using this as a storage bit or if this is implying that Talbot's son might be an Inhuman as well. They don't really get into that. That might be something that we find out further on down the road, and probably will link in with the vaccine thing that we'll talk about in just a few minutes. Now, it's great to see Talbot back. He's a great character. I love the connection that they're having with linking the ATCU and bringing things around again. I like the return of characters building on the universe. The only thing that kind of annoys me is the hokiness, the kind of cheesiness that Talbot presents. The reason being is he's a brigadier general. A general is sort of a political position as well as a military one. And if the president is putting him in charge of the ATCU and sending him to the symposium with all of these, international leaders, making comments about the dress or y'all have impronounceable names just seems kind of beneath what they're doing. I don't think they need to be reaching for the low-hanging fruit to kind of find characterizations. Again, character doesn't mean stupid. Yes, you can have a strong character and the breaths around them, but that doesn't, you shouldn't just go for being stupid. That just kind of annoys me with his character. But I love him bringing back Crusher Creel and the whole explanation they have with that he was brainwashed by Hydra, and now Talbot trusts him with his life. And there's obviously difficulties that they're having with, especially with Hunter, because Creel's killed several of his friends. But it's a nice thing to bring back and again start looking at the differences in how people can change. That's what Talbot brought up. Yes, he did have criminal record and stuff even before Hydra brainwashed him. But people can change, and that might be sort of a reoccurring theme that kind of goes through all of this, even as we talk on later on again about the vaccine and everything that was presented between Daisy and Lincoln in that conversation. People can change, and Creel doesn't, man. Creel is there when Talbot needs him. He was his inside man. And it was just, it's great, again, continuing that world building, bringing characters back, bringing them back in new perspectives. Now, as for the symposium, it seems kind of a little rushed. I mean, I understand the Inhuman situation is exploding around the planet, but there's only like 5 countries here. As sort of an international symposium, that seems a little light. And the fact that they really kind of jump into the ideas of establishing an Inhuman safe zone, I mean, they barely understand it. That's what Coulson was trying to do in his doctor, persona at the meeting. This is sort of explain a little bit more about the Inhuman situation. And they seem to kind of gloss over that and just sort of start rushing to conclusions. Obviously, with the presentation of Malik coming in and Talbot cutting short of the vote, it doesn't really go much anywhere, but it just seemed kind of a rushed thing to try and establish this type of storyline already. That might have been something better to wait off or maybe to deal with it just a little bit better. Because like I said, 5 countries for an international symposium on a worldwide situation just seems a little light. And also, the whole thing with the gloves of breaking into the rooms. Yes, that's nice, that's fancy, I love the technology bits that they use with that, but doesn't the cleaning crew need to get in to remake the bed and to vacuum and to do all that? How long is the symposium? Is it just supposed to be one night and that's what the high security is for? Also, Bobby seemed to have no problem once Hunter was gone. She seemed to have no problem just climbing up the wall and jumping in through the window. So the whole glove scene, while cool, seemed contrived, seemed a bit unnecessary for really developing everything. At the very least, you could have, Sky should have gone in and just sort of hacked in and put all of their handprints in there, sort of a backup managerial thing or something like that. But the gloves, again, while cool, just seemed to be overly much. And then we have the vaccine. And I know my little comment about X3, I know that that's Fox and this is Marvel, they're two different things. But as on a personal note, the idea of these quick fix vaccines that, oh, we have this problem, but now we can find a vaccine that will stop them, will keep this from happening or reverse things. It always seems like a very big rushed idea. I mean, we are in our world having difficulty, finding vaccines for the common cold, for all these huge affecting diseases and such that are worldwide situations. Whereas as soon as you come up with like the mutant situation they had in X3 or with Inhumans and with this, that they're able to very quickly find this vaccine that minimizes, cuts, reduces, affects the situation. Our understanding, our grasp of genetics and fixes like that are just nowhere near the level. I know this is sci-fi and there's always so much more going on with S.H.I.E.L.D. Than what we have here in the real world. I understand that. But that there seems to be always this quick thing of throwing in this vaccine or corrective, I think is a bit much and reduces the intensity of what this situation could be. If you have a few years down the road and this has really exploded out and then they're able to come up with something, I could see that. And obviously this situation is really using Carl Creel's blood as a discovery of, oh, this has this effect. It's not that they've researched things and be able to come up with, okay, here's the genetic anomaly and we can engineer this that can fit in that. They're not doing that, and I do appreciate that. But I think the idea of bringing a vaccine this early into the Inhumans problem is a bit rushed. Now, that being said, it does bring up a lot of good conversation points. It starts off with Bobby and Daisy in the beginning talking about the reality of Inhumans in the world, and then moves on to Daisy and Lincoln discussing the idea of this vaccine once Fitzsimmons sort of discovers this possibility. And again, it's not a guaranteed cure. This is an avenue that they can research into, but it does bring up the discussion of destiny, free will, choice, all of these things, which I think are always good, important discussion points. And for Daisy, again, she always latches on to the new thing that she belongs to. Obviously coming from her being an orphan and raised alone and back and forth. When she got into S.H.I.E.L.D., she grabbed onto S.H.I.E.L.D. This is the new thing that I'm with. When she became an Inhuman, she has grabbed onto that identity. No, we are Inhumans, and this is a great thing, and we should all be like this. This is her, claiming an identity. Whereas you have Lincoln, who's always been a part of it and might have sort of a slightly different perspective on seeing things. And he has brought up that maybe not everybody should be changed. Maybe Terrigenesis isn't for everyone. There was a selection process that that Daisy's mother had put through Jiang. That's kind of important. I mean, even if you go way back into the comics and the basis, these things were chosen, and there was always some sort of selection process, and then the Terrigenesis was done to fill a need for the society. So I like the idea that they're asking these types of questions. I just think pushing a vaccine idea is a little early, but that's just my opinion. Now, some of the things, some little stuff, just little things that I liked in the episode. The Hydra smart guns. Just that the Hydra has these high-tech weapons that only they can use and that S.H.I.E.L.D. can't just pick up and start using. I thought was just a beautiful, small little thing. There's been the discussion of smart guns and such through our society. The fact that the bad guys are using them to keep the good guys from using it against them is just kind of fun. Obviously, Hunter has brought his own weapons, and that's another nice point. We had in his beginning, he was just going through the big weapon stack of, this is what we're bringing, we don't know what's going to go on, maybe people aren't going to listen. And as soon as he finds out that Hydra was there, he has backup. Bobby loves him for that, May hates him just a little bit less. Because they still have their little back and forth going on about the whole Andrew thing. But May, earlier on that, did bring up a little point that might clue us into next year. When she was arguing with Hunter on the airplane, saying that you were only here for Bobby. I'm wondering if that's going to bring up into Most Wanted. Because we know Bobby and Hunter are going to be leaving after this season. They're doing their own spin-off series starting next year. And I'm kind of wondering if they're starting to lay a little bit of groundwork, that maybe it's Bobby who gets in trouble and Hunter goes with her, because that's where he's always going to be. It could be the two of them. Obviously, at the end of the episode, we have them in the hole in the belly of the beast, in the hold of Malik's plane, flying off to Russia with Petrov, trying to set up the Inhuman sanctuary. So, definitely they have enough sources to get into trouble together all by themselves. But just those little lines, those little things, I always wonder if that's just dropping little hints about what's about to happen, what's going to go on. And of course, that Talbot and Coulson finally at the end of the episode, after freeing Talbot's son, come to a certain accord. And just that little moment of Talbot's like, call me Glenn. Occasionally. It's like really trying to reach out to be, understanding and accepting, but there's still that little part of him that just doesn't like Coulson. And if that continues, that's good character work that I enjoy. It's not being stupid, it is personal choices in there. I like it. Anyway, so that wraps up this week. More stuff going on next week. Huge, build up in towards whatever's going to happen out in the fallout for Civil War. Can't wait to see how they're going to link up with that. But the really big news is Double D himself, and I'm not talking about two of me. I'm talking about Daredevil, and that is about 36 hours from now as I am recording this. A day and a half. Talking Thursday night at midnight Pacific time. It is dropping on Netflix. They have released their last trailer just the other day. Man, this is going to be intensive. We have Punisher, we have Elektra, we have the Hand, we have all sorts of stuff going on. This is going to be huge. I really cannot wait for it. I'm going to try and drop some stuff. May not be until next week. The weekend's really crowded for me, but I'm going to try and at least drop something here to cover it up. I've been so looking forward to this year. I said it's just going to be amazing. We had Deadpool, we got Daredevil. Next week we got Batman v Superman, and then we've got Civil War coming up after that, and X-Men Apocalypse after that, and just it's going to be a hell of a year for us. We're going to be constantly busy and just cheering, yeah. So come on back next week. See if I've got some Daredevil stuff drop, but obviously we are going to have more of S.H.I.E.L.D. a week from today. Please press like if you enjoyed what I had to say today. Feel free to subscribe. Join us every week as we cover this and several other shows. Comments in the section below, always appreciated. Had a nice little dialogue with some of you lately, and I've really enjoyed that. It means a lot, and it just keeps everything engaged. And that's going to be it for now. I am D. I am out of here, and I will see you guys actually probably in just a couple of days. Take it easy.